I'm not here to bore you about the Yankees. Most people listening probably don't like the Yankees. I get that. But that's my team.
Yeah.
I grew up in it. This guy Mike says, what's your secondary team? What was your second team? I'm like, second team? Now, I get it, because we've talked about this stuff for years, right? I get it. You move to another city. You sort of adopt a team, sort of. Like, yeah, I'm living in Seattle now, so I kind of root for the Seattle Mariners. I guess they're my second team, right? I get it.
I don't go by that.
No, well, hold on. But I understand.
I don't like
and I've always sort of accepted it. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, what a weenie mentality this is. What a non-committed, non-committal, like fair-weathered fan sort of attitude to have. It's like, secondary team? There should be no such thing. Like, I tolerate the Mets because I'm from the East Coast. I don't hate the Dodgers. I live in L.A. But they're not my secondary team. I don't watch them, and I don't care if they win or lose. Like, if you really have a team, that's your team. And there's too many people in today's world, too, especially, Rich, right? I get if years ago you had a secondary team because you moved away and you can no longer watch your local team. What's the excuse in 2022?
No. I'm with you. I watch the Mets every day. Gary, Keith, and Ron on the call.
But there's so many people.
You got Sunday ticket. You can watch your game. You got NBA Pass. You could watch all this every day. And you know what? I have more thoughts on this.
Yeah,
and
me
I know,
too.
and we'll get to it. 877-99 on Fox.
I think you're not a real fan if you have a secondary team.
Ooh.
Look, I know people have that, and I've even casually said maybe, yeah, the Mets, I guess they're like my second team, because if the Yankees aren't on, maybe I'll turn them on.
Yeah.
If the Yankees aren't on, maybe I'll put the Dodgers on, because we're here in L.A., on in the background. But if I'm going to be honest about it, I don't give a jack diddly squat, a diddly do, about whether they win or lose. So how in the world could I even claim them a second team or a secondary team? And the more I think about it, because I really thought about it, I was like,
it's aggravating you.
If anyone says they have a second team, they're not truly committed to their first team. Just like if they're committed to a woman, but they have a secondary woman, how committed are they really?
Sometimes you need a good mod. How about this? Could I
Too
give
many
you
ingredients in the baba ganoush.
Could I give you, I think Ben Maller would agree. I think there's a couple exceptions here. Because I'm with you. I agree, but I'm going to play devil's advocate. How about I'll be Keanu?
Be Keanu Reeves. He's great in that movie.
What if you have kids and all their friends and everyone in your new city roots for a team? What do?
You convert your kid.
Yeah. I think about this because
keep them in the family.
I know.
A lot of rooting interest comes from, like, I was born in that family.
I know.
Because we're from that area.
Here's the other exception. Could your secondary team be your wife or husband's family's team? Like I'm a Niners fan.
Yeah.
My wife's family, all Packers fans. Now, I don't like the Packers, but
exactly.
If my team's out of it, do I say, I'll pull for my wife's team?
You tolerate them. I don't know. You know what? We'll take the phone calls. 877-99 on Fox. Are there exceptions?
James, what's going on? You're on in New York. Covino and Rich.
You said, are there exceptions?
Yeah. What's up?
What's going on, guys? Great to be on with you. You guys are amazing. I love when you fill in.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
I hear you unless you fill in. But I got two occasions where it's okay to have a secondary team.
Okay.
The first one is if your secondary team is in the opposing conference. Like, for instance, I'm a Red Sox fan. My secondary team would be the Mets.
Okay, that's fair.
I don't watch Mets games, but I watch Red Sox games. So my secondary team would be the Mets. That's a good occasion to have a secondary team. And then my second one
what's the other option?
is I'm a Washington Redskins fan, but I went to college in Buffalo, and I went to like 6 Bills games while I was there. I've never seen the Redskins play because I don't live in the area. So my secondary team is the Bills. But my team is
no, because you just proved my point. Then you don't care about the Redskins that much. You never even went to a game, right? Doesn't it prove the point?
Do you mean the Commanders?
I'm sorry. You know what? That's the first time I slipped. That is. It's the first time.
He said it. That's why.
Oh, he said it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, man?
I'm just being silly.
I actually thought of it. Can I give you there's only one exception to the rule. Can I give it to you?
You're freight training through. Go ahead. Let's hear it.
I mean, that implies that you don't want me to.
I want you to.
No, I felt your subtle dig there.
No, go ahead.
You're saying I'm talking too much.
No, you're not.
You think I don't pick up on your condescending nonsense?
That's what I heard.
I heard that loud and clear. Do you want to hear the only exception?
Proceed.
The only exception to a secondary team
Yeah.
is if your kid makes it to the big leagues and plays for another team.
Well, that's a pretty good exception.
That's the only exception. That's the only exception. Because I would think that your primary team is the team you grew up rooting for. And actually, maybe that becomes your second team. But that's the only time it makes sense.
Oh, can I name drop? I met my hero, Joe Montana, a few times. And it sort of hurt my feelings that he's like, yeah, my whole family, we were Steelers fans. And he still gave me the vibe that he's a Steelers guy deep down inside.
You know what? He absolutely did.
And I'm like, Joe Montana.
I remember that.
Come on.
I remember that. All right, back to the phones, 877-99 on Fox.
But that guy, James, we're going to go to the rest of your calls now, but that guy, James, brought up one thing. If you do have a second team, which I'm not all about, right? But if you did, it has to be NFC, AFC. It has to be NL, AL. It has to be Western Conference, Eastern Conference. It has to be. I took my daughter to see the Mets when they came out here and they played the Angels. I saw some guy sitting there with a Pete Alonso jersey on. I'm like, oh, Mets fan? Give him a little fist bump. He's like, yeah, I've lived out here 15 years. He goes, I'm an Angels fan now, but I bought this jersey just because the Mets are in town. I'm like, so what are you? You're an Angels fan? Or are you a Mets fan? Like, it confused me. I'm like, it's like, well, I live out here, and it's where I live now.
It's proving my point. It's hogwash that people say. It just means you don't really root for your primary team.
All right, Jesse in Bakersfield. Jesse, you're on with Covino and Rich.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
How's it going?
We're good, man. What's up?
Hey, so I got a couple of things to say here. First of all, I'm a Rams fan, and I would never root for another football team.
Good.
Okay, I've been a Rams fan since I was a really little kid, and, I mean, that's the only team I would ever root for. Now, let me give you another situation, though. From 1969, when the Mets were in the World Series and I got to see Tom Seaver pitch, I was a fan. I couldn't root for anybody else. I'm from California, but the Mets were it. So I watched the Mets for a lot of years, suffered a little bit, but then, 1986 they win the World Series again.
Mm-hmm.
Then what do? They sell off their team basically. They don't hold on to guys like Hernandez and guys like that. So I'm a little miffed by all that. In the 90s, I moved to an area where all I can get on TV to watch baseball every day is TBS. So I started watching the Braves. There was probably no more exciting team to watch in the 90s than the Braves.
Hold on. Jesse, I love you, but you're chasing excitement.
Yeah, I'm hearing.
Be gone!
No, I'm hearing. Like, I understand. We understand Jesse's story, right? But in 2022, there's no reason because you can watch your team. But what I heard was, here's what I heard. Translation, my team made some bad moves, and there was a dark period.
And now I have a new team.
And now I found an exciting team.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I heard. That's what I heard.
You know what bothers me more than anything? And I know the guys in the room could relate because they probably know people that have moved around the country for radio over the years.
Yeah.
Nothing annoys me more than when a new host comes to a town.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, give me some corny, like, top 40 guy.
Jack the Whack.
Jack the Whack. He's on Kiss FM.
He said whack.
Jack. So Jack the Whack is on Kiss FM in a city.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing annoys me more than he's like, hey, Cincinnati, Kiss FM, go Reds, go Bengals. And I'm like, yo, how disingenuous.
Because you're trying to win over the local fans. Yeah, you're trying to fit into the city. I get it. Anything else might be counterproductive, but we see past that now. The world's a smaller place.
You're the new morning guy in Houston. Good morning. What do you think about those Rockets? Oh, come on. Stop it.
Right. You can see right through it nowadays, especially. Hey, I appreciate the call. I still don't agree. I understand the story, but I don't agree.
I like this call, though. Tim in Boise. What's up, Tim?
Hey, gentlemen. Appreciate the time.
Hey, Tim, before you even start, Covino's girlfriend's from Boise, and I was unaware that this was a thing. Can you confirm that on New Year's Eve, there's a Boise potato drop?
Oh, and it's electric.
I told you. They laughed at me when I told
no joke. Covino wanted to turn on Dick Clark's Rocket Eve with Seacrest, and his girlfriend's like, but what about the potato drop?
I was like, excuse me, what? What is that?
Yeah, New York City doesn't have anything on Boise, Idaho for New Year's Eve. I'll tell you that.
All right, what's going on, man?
Hey, secondary teams are all right, man. I'm a diehard Packers fan. Grew up. My dad was from Wisconsin. Love him to death. I also went to school at University of Wyoming. So I can't help but not cheer for the Bills and Bills Mafia as Josh Allen's leading that team, put Wyoming on the map.
Yeah, maybe we're a little
Like,
maybe
no.
you're a little jaded because you're a New Yorker
He's
and
hedging
you're like
his
Yankees,
bet.
Yankees.
He's like, if my team sucks, I got another team to root for.
Yeah, maybe it's smart. Maybe we're being dumb.
No, man. It's like it's being loyal and committed. Like all of these things I understand.
Sometimes loyal and committed is not a good thing.
No, says who? What is that? Think of what you just said. You just said that on national radio.
Cincinnati,
and you're
Brad.
a married man.
What's up, Brad? How are you, man?
Hey guys, how's it going?
What's up, buddy?
Oh, I was listening to you guys' radio station earlier, and I heard you guys arguing about being married to a team
Yeah.
versus like having a secondary team.
Yeah.
See, I'm originally from Indianapolis. Grew up with Peyton Manning. I grew up with Reggie Miller. I love those guys. But since moving to Cincinnati, I'm starting to find that the Bengals are actually becoming a hot commodity now. Now, I had the conundrum of, do I still love my Colts? Do I switch to being a Bengals
Well, it
fan?
seems to me like Joe Burrow is the equivalent of that hot new booty that you're chasing now.
Yes. Like, what are you talking
yeah.
about? You're
Definitely.
defining front running, man. Like you root for a team, you stick with that team. Here's the exception. You're allowed to root for other players. There's other players, like if you like Joe Burrow, you're allowed to like that guy as a player and as a man. There's no rule against that.
But, are you?
But your team's your team.
Are you Meatloaf? Because you just took the words right out of my mouth. Because I was just about to say, maybe not a second team.
I'm not Meatloaf, but I love Meatloaf.
I'm telling you, because you could argue that I'm
Meatloaf.
a Niners guy, 49ers diehard. However, over the years, we've both it went from a joke to the reality is that you and I both love Tom Brady.
Yeah, of course. How could you not?
There's players
He's a winner.
you love. There's players you don't like, right? So I think you could have a team and players you root for when your
Yes.
team's out of it.
Yes.
But I don't think you could be like, well, I'm a Mets fan, but if they're out of it, then I'm a Dodgers fan. I don't know about that.
Especially in our industry, Rich.
Yeah.
I don't want to make it about us, but when you meet people and they're great people, you root for them, right?
Yeah.
So that happens a lot working in this industry.
All right.
Who else do we got?
Corey in California. What's
Corey,
up?
can you really have a secondary team?
Finally. Thank you, guys. You guys are awesome.
Thanks,
Thanks
man.
for taking my call. Hey, there ain't no second teams, man. It's only one team. It's the Niners, it's the Warriors, and it's the Giants, baby. I've been married into a family of LA fans, everything. I am not switching. We fight all the time. Die hard. You can't go. It's only one way.
That's it, man. And I feel like we've accepted that answer for a long time, and it's like an outdated response. I don't have patience for it anymore.
Nathan in Ohio. What's
hey,
up?
Nathan.
Hey, guys. What's going on?
Yo.
Yeah, I just quick, short, and sweet. Back in the 90s, 1990, when I was a kid, 1999, Grady's show on turf, I was a big Rams fan. And then my dad ended up giving us season tickets in 2004 when Carson Palmer comes in. Big Bengals fan now. And then this year I was just real torn because back in, living the youngin' age and watching the Rams play, and I had to root for my Bengals.
Nathan's got a point, and I'm not being wishy-washy. I'm not flip-flopping.
Okay, well, explain
I'm not flopping
It's fair.
like.
Well, that's why we open the phone calls. Like, are there exceptions?
I'm not flopping like LeBron on a light foul.
Okay.
I am going to say there's something to be said about. And by the way, thanks for the call, Nathan. There's something to be said about why are we so stubborn about this one team and one team only? Because at the end of the day, like that brings you a lot of frustration. And I'm not saying be flip-floppy. But, hey, if your team's out of it, why not have some joy in, maybe a second rooting interest? I'm throwing it out there.
Because you're allowed to watch and enjoy a game. But at that point, I'm watching for the matchup, not for the team. I thought of the only other exception because he made me think of it. The two exceptions so far are, if you have a family member that plays for a team, then I understand that you root for that team now because your family's invested. So, therefore, now you have a secondary team, which was probably your old team. If your team moved out of the city, that's another exception that I can understand.
If you're a Rams guy and you're like, they moved to L.A., they abandoned St. Louis. Like,
right.
I'm done.
So that made me think of that, so I appreciate the call.
Covino, what about, you got a kid. I got kids. My kids are little. What if my son goes to school and all of his little buddies like, hey, my son's name is Ben. What's like, Ben, we all love the Dodgers. The Dodgers, go Dodgers. And my son's like, but my dad makes me root for the Mets. Like, do I have to force my kid?
Makes you? Poor kid. He should be honored.
I don't know if anyone's honored to be a Mets fan like I am, but would you be mad if your kid's like, yeah, Dad, that's cool and all. You grew up in New York, but I've lived in L.A. my whole life.
That's just how it works.
Says who?
Says me. Says life.
Yo, Bursch.
You're gonna abandon like your dad's fandom and like you know what I mean? Like in my opinion, then he sort of turned on his dad. He turned on you.
I know you and Chris had a take. What do you got?
I do need to ask this because
go ahead, Chris.
I am a Lions fan. I'm a Detroit Lions fan. Okay. I love them to death, even if they don't love me back. But I would probably have to give my kid a choice and be like, look, if this doesn't work out in the next couple of years with Dan Campbell, I gotta be like, look, you can buy into all this pain and frustration, but I will totally understand if you want to like become a free agent before you jump in.
Yeah, you know what, Chris?
All right,
not a bad idea.
He's giving him a choice. All right,
yeah.
I like that.
I mean, I'm pretty sure my daughter already sees Dad rooting for the Mets, and she's like, Dad, my favorite colors are blue and orange, and I'm like, oh, I'm brainwashing these little kids. Oh no.
If Ben becomes a Dodgers fan, he's just rebelling against you. That's the way I see it.
Imagine he became a Yankees fan living in L.A. I'd hate him.
Exactly.
I'd hate my son.
I don't know. To me, I've only heard 2 solid exceptions so far to having a secondary team.
Vermont and Patrick. What's up, bud? Patrick.
Time caller.
Hey, bud.
So I got a couple things to say about this. First one is that I got a buddy who's he's a Boston and a Charlotte fan, and it drives me nuts because he's like, I like the Panthers and the Patriots. And so
dude, we hear that a lot. That's why I'm bringing this up. It's like when you really think about it, it makes me mad.
Yeah, and so the other thing is I'm a Jets fan, and we haven't made playoffs since Vietnam. So I think, when your team is out of playoffs, I think it's reasonable to pick another team that you want to see win. You cannot change though. Once that team's out,
you can't do. Patrick, thanks for the call.
That's like he's saying having a rooting interest on him, right?
You can't call them your team, but let's say the playoffs start and you're like, yo, I'm really vibing with the Bengals and Joe Burrow. My team's out of it. Let's say you're a Jets fan and you're like,
that's fine.
Yo, the Jets stink. If that guy was like, for the playoffs, I'm all in on the Bengals because I just like what Burrow's got. Or hey, you know what, Josh Allen, I like this kid.
Yeah, that's all fair and fine. What's up, Bursch?
I have one more exception because I think we talk about when you move to a city, you might adopt that fan base. But what about if that team moves to you? But which is kind of what my situation was in the last couple of years, where
that's a good
my
one.
entire life I've been I'm a Packers fan because I'm 29 years old. Growing up in LA, I didn't have a hometown team in the NFL, and my entire dad's side of the family was from Green Bay. We had history with Green Bay, so I was always a Packers fan. But then I had not one but 2 teams come here in the last couple of years. I kind of wanted them both to do well for the sake of the city, and I wanted them to grow and actually grow a solid fan base. And I found myself watching the Rams a lot this last season, and I was pulling for them hard in the Super Bowl. I mean, if they played the Packers in the NFC Championship game like they really should have,
yes, you're right.
They should have. I would have been rooting for the Packers 100%, but I was excited. I had a ton of fun watching the Rams in the Super Bowl.
That's fair. I'll give you my exception because
I could see that, and you fall into like the new fandom. Everybody's in on it together from the ground up. It's a community sorts to build around it. I could see that. I understand that one.
Can you fake liking a team to impress someone? Some hot girl's like, my whole family is Red Sox fans. Would you be like, would you be like taking off your Yankee hat?
Isn't that just the FM host thing again?
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. You Jack the Whack? Get out of here with that.